Good to go.
Good to go. Excellent. Look, thanks OLEOLOGY for the opportunity to speak to you all. It's great. I mean, it's lovely to get out on such a nice day like this. It was tempting just to keep going, go down the beach for an hour rather than come in. But no, this is great. Look, thank you. My name is Francis Norman. I'm the CEO Managing Director with CODA. And I'm conscious here that some of you will know who we are and some of you won't, so I might start off a little bit with just a bit of an introduction of who CODA is, and then talk a little bit to the materials I've got here. So, CODA, acronym Centre of Decommissioning Australia. We're nothing to do with the Apple TV film that came out a few years ago, just as we were branding ourselves with the same name. And yeah, they try and find a good place on Google when you've got Apple pushing their own brand at you. We're a not-for-profit organisation that was established around about three and a half years ago now to help to grow Australia's decommissioning industry. So it's decommissioning primarily in the oil and gas sector. We've got an enormous volume of work coming up over, starting now, going to run out for the next 20, 30 years as we get to the end of life for most of our offshore and onshore oil and gas facilities. Our initial figures that we did in some work about 3 years ago now would indicate that's around 40 billion US of work to execute. And about half of that work is going to be in the next 10 years. So there's a big chunk of work there. As we looked around though, there wasn't really the capability and capacity across Australia that was easy to identify to do this work, which was really what got us going. So we established, as I say, about 3 years ago now. We operate as a not-for-profit, so we're not directly influenced. We're not a lobby group or anything like that. We work with the operators, we work with government, we work with the research community. We work also very strongly with the service sector. And there's a slide at the end of the deck here that will show where we're at as far as our memberships, which is absolutely phenomenal for considering where we started about 15 months ago with the first member. I'll get to that when we get there. So, obviously starting out, acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to their leaders, past, present and emerging. And for us as well in the decommissioning space, there's an awful lot of opportunity there for a lot of Aboriginal communities. A lot of this work will be regional. A lot of this work will be close to the lands that they've been so closely related to for such a long time. So really, sort of where we're at now, and I'm conscious this is starting with upcoming work, but maybe I'll start, before I talk about this bit, with what we've done previously. The first piece of work we did was the size of the market, and that was the $40 billion and the shape of what we've got coming up. Primary areas for that work, vast majority is off the Northwest Shelf. I think around 80% of all of the volume of installed oil and gas equipment offshore Australia is off Western Australia. Next largest is in the Bass Strait. Particularly ESSO have got an enormous number of assets down there, that many of which have already reached end of life and have been basically cold stacked out there for the last 10 years or so, waiting for decommissioning to be executed on them. And then the remaining portion in the offshore space is off the Northern Territory, and the big one that a lot of people are looking at up there is the Northern Endeavour, which is the former FPSO that's under decommissioning at the present time. So, size of the market. Once we've done that, we did 3 more pieces of work. One was to look at where the technologies are and where the maturing technologies are that the industry will need. Next one was to look around the world and see global best practice for planning and execution for this work. Conscious that we are just getting into it, we wanted to see what everyone else is doing, what we can learn from them that we can use to be better at what we're going to do here. And then the third piece was to look at the disposal recycling pathways. So once we land this material, what do we do with it? Where do we take it? How can we recycle as much of it as possible? And what we can't recycle, where do we take it for disposal? So those were the first 3 steps along that journey, which gets us to our upcoming work that we're just wrapping up at the present time. We get a lot of support from the West Australian Government, Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation. They see the opportunities here to grow the industry around capability, to help to, creating jobs. One of the primary functions of government writ large is jobs and opportunities. So they've been incredibly supportive to us. And one of the things that we're undertaking through some of that support has been a study to look at all of the ports in Western Australia to see which ones would work best for what types of decom activity. So that work's almost finished now. We'll be putting a report out on that in probably the next 6 weeks or so. And that really, as I say, evaluated all of the 32 ports we've got around the state to see which ones would work best. The sad thing is there isn't one that's ideal and right now ready to go. The good news is there are a couple that are good enough for most of the work that we've got right now, with some small tweaks and some support activities around them. So, you know, it's a promising story in there. Second piece that we've got, which is almost also now finished, is to look at the skills, start to look at the skills that we need, and to look at where the skills gaps may be, and to start to just generate some attention in terms of where the job opportunities are. For some people, this is an entire career opportunity. You know, we're fortunate to work with some people across industry who are 20, 25 years into their career and have already spent all of that time in decommissioning in other places around the world. But there's people just entering the workforce now who could, if they wanted to, write the whole of their career on decommissioning and have a really interesting job, sort of disposal and cleaning up and all of this stuff. So that piece, as I say, will be out. Both of these will be finished now before the end of the year, hopefully in the next couple of months. One of the other bits that we were really, really keen to do was to showcase who's got what capabilities across the industry. It's hard to find, I mean, we all know how hard it is. You go on the internet, you want to try and find a business that can do something, but organisations even like here, you put in a few keywords and sometimes you get what you want, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you find somebody but they're located in Timbuktu, or they've just closed, or they don't do the service that you want. So we've been working for probably the last 12 months or so now to start to develop all of the background stuff that we need to start to put a capability index together that can be searchable, that's publicly accessible. So that's live now on our website, so companies can go on, you can find who's got what capability in there. It's self-populating. We don't have the capability ourselves, or the resources, or quite frankly the time to go out and find all of those companies out there. Our hope is that as companies find us or get introduced to us, they'll take a couple of minutes, put the profile on there, and then they will then appear on that searchable thing. So sort of think of it as a bit of a yellow pages for decommissioning, I guess. And that, yeah, it's filling up. It's been good, and this is what it looks like. And surprisingly, look who we've got on the demonstration page on here. OLEOLOGY have been a partner with us now for 9 months or so. They've had a profile on in the development side of this. So obviously coming down here to talk on OLEOLOGY's offices made perfect sense to put them on here. So you know, that's the sort of profile that they look like. And as I say, it's searchable. It's on there now on the website and all ready to go. And you're sitting in there alongside about 50 other companies as partners. I think there's about 25 or so partner companies who've got their presence so far on the platform. I'm looking at my two colleagues standing over by the door there. So that was that one. Next one we wanted to talk about from a skills perspective is we inherited a training course which was developed by Curtin University for NOPSEMA, the offshore regulator. It was a 2-day course to provide an introduction to decommissioning. They'd done a great job putting this course together. They reached the point where it was time to hand it off to someone else, and we took that course on, and we ran it for the first time 3 months or so ago. It runs over 2 days. We don't deliver the course ourselves, we coordinate it. We get the experts in to talk about different things. So we get NOPSEMA in to talk about regulations, we get a lawyer in, well, a legal academic in to talk about the legal sides of things, we get well specialists in to talk about well plug and abandonment. So right through the course we've got experts coming in to deliver the materials. That, as I said, ran for the first time 2 months or so ago. The next one is coming up in a couple of months' time. So we're really proud of that. It's the only one of its kind as far as we know. It's certainly the only one of its kind in the region, possibly one of the only few in the world that's actually doing this sort of stuff, to get people who are new into the industry relatively up to speed quite quickly. Back to the 2020 work that we did to look at what workload looks like going forwards. One of the things that we started to get asked from as soon as that material came out was, okay, so who's doing what when? What does it look like? How much pipeline? What's the equipment look like? What, you know, is it a platform? Is it a floating facility? Is it subsea pipelines? Is it wells? Whatever. That information is out there, but it is incredibly hard to find. So we've been looking at ways to do that. We finally found a way that we can start to produce that information. So we're about to sign off to get a project started to build what will be a relatively granular, searchable forward look ahead of what's going on in the decommissioning space across Australia. Again, it'll start in the offshore space. We will move into look at the onshore space as time goes forwards. It will be, what we're doing is we're working with a company to build a natural language processor that will scour through all of the environmental plans that the operators submit to the regulator and extract from that all the information that's in there. Now, you might sort of think to yourself, well, I could do that myself. Well, you could. Each environmental plan's about 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 pages long. There's about 50 of them in there. That's a job for a computer. That's not a job for a human. So that will be started in the next few weeks, and the aim is to at least have the, let's call it the alpha or a beta version of that ready around about the end of this year, so we can start to show what that look ahead looks like. This one is one of the slides I am absolutely delighted to be able to put up on here. This is, when people say to me now, so who is CODA? I mean, this is us. It's not me and Sean and Pav. We're sort of the, we're the employees, if you like, for CODA. This is our community. These are the companies who are our active partners right now. So all of those above the line, if you like, but if you drew a line across there, these are all our partners. They've all signed on to be partners with us. There's small fees associated with all of that, but if I'd put this slide up a year ago, there'd have been 4 companies on there. So in 12 months' time, we're now over 50 companies on here. There's another 2 that signed on just this week. Their logos aren't on here yet, so it's a bit of a constant thing to try and stay up to date with those. The ones along the bottom, these are what we call our strategic partners. So these are organisations where exchange of funds just doesn't work. So, for instance, we've got the Timor regulator as the first one on there. They are super interested in what the opportunities are in East Timor with decommissioning. They're looking at bringing a couple of FPSOs into Timor port, completely decontaminating them there, and then taking the hull away somewhere else to be dismantled and disposed of. So across there we've got, these are all of those partners. So Northern Territory Government, West Australian Government, Pilbara Ports Authority, the International IOGP, so the Oil and Gas Producers Association. So really some amazing partners we've got in that space as well. So say that's us, not me, not Sean, not Pav, that's us. And that's us. So thank you very much. I keep talking about them. The 2 chaps over in the corner there in the CODA branded polo shirts. If you've got any questions, either myself, Sean or Pav, very happy to have a chat to you. But thank you very much. And again, thanks for the opportunity to come along and have a chat.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you. So we'll have a short break, refill any coffees, etc. And then we will have the esteemed Dr. Judy Xiao also present this morning. So yes, if you want to learn all things new and emerging on PFAS, this is the expert I would definitely recommend you to go speak to. All right, we'll get some more coffees. Finally.